有些人会说我们闪电狼是韩国杀手这个称号。
FW의 장점은 약간 그 초반 기세 싸움 유리한 걸로 약간 굴리자 약간 이런 거에서 강한데 그게 약간 좀 한국 스타일의 약간 강한 느낌이 들어서 FW가 좀 한국 팀 상대로 잘하는 것 같아요.
And Benny is just spitting out hell upon King Zone. A triple for him. Flash Wolves are going to go top of the group.
我们对上听众，我们现在大家都非常有，只是因为毕竟我们也是在小组赛赢下了他们2场，所以大家现在对上听众的话，感觉都蛮有把握的。
아무래도 FW가 이제 그룹 스테이지에서 저희 상대로 2대 0을 했잖아요. 그래서 그 팀 자체가 저희 팀에 이길 수 있다고 생각을 하고 있을 것 같고 약간 그게 좀 독이 될 수도 있다고 저는 생각을 합니다.
很少有国际队伍可以在就是国际赛上面在 BO5打赢韩国队嘛，所以我希望我们可以有机会可以来就是挑战这个历史看看。
Welcome back to the Zenith Arena, where yesterday we saw a tense three-game series between RNG and Fnatic. Now the LPL representatives came out on top, and today we find out who faces them in the final on Sunday. Of course, the crowd is packed to the brim of this arena as they were yesterday. The chants have been going on for over an hour, and you're getting a look at the Opera Nationale de Paris and the various other gorgeous backdrops Paris has to offer. Hello, everyone. I'm James Dash Patterson, joined by Joshua Jat Leesman, Martin DeFisciolunga, and Indiana Frosker in black for our second semifinal of the knockout stage. How are you guys doing today? Hoping for something more than 3 games?
As long as they're as exciting as the 3 games that we had yesterday, absolutely.
I'll take a little bit more than 3 games, honestly. Give me 5. That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah, especially with the opportunity here. Flash Wolves, known as the Korean Killers, but also did fall the Koreans last year at MSI.
Exactly. There is some history there. Of course, the immediate history of the tournament with the 2-0 over King Zone. We heard it in the opening. They are confident, but there's always that looming idea, the best of 5s for the Korean teams and how they'll perform at international tournaments. With that, it's time to welcome our competitors. So let's send it back over to Chips and Noah.
Kingzone DragonX et je vous propose directement d'accueillir les 2 équipes du jour avec comme première les Flash Wolves. Une première salve d'applaudissements s'il vous plaît pour les champions de la LMS. Quatre fois champions consécutivement dans leur région. Ils sont la très grande surprise des group stage de ce MSI. Je vous demande, le Zénith, Paris, encore une fois s'il vous plaît, de faire du bruit pour ces joueurs Flash Wolves. Et sur la top lane, une salle d'applaudissements s'il vous plaît pour le très talentueux Hanabi. Dans la jungle, c'est le jeune joueur coréen Moojin. Sur la mid lane, le vétéran Maple. Au poste de carry AD, des encouragements s'il vous plaît pour Betty. Et au poste de support, le stratège de l'équipe SwordArt. Des applaudissements également pour le coach de l'équipe Warhorse. Et le support, bien entendu, une salle d'applaudissements s'il vous plaît pour Morning. Pour les Flash Wolves, une dernière fois, on les encourage s'il vous plaît.
sûr, Chips, leurs adversaires ne peuvent pas être négligés. Champion de Corée, la région la plus compétitive du monde. J'ai nommé les Kingzone. Il le dit, les Korean Killers, il faut en avoir besoin. Peu d'équipes peuvent se vanter d'avoir battu une équipe coréenne en BO5. Ils viennent ici à Paris pour gagner et pour faire prévaloir la domination de leur région. S'il vous plaît pour les Kingzone, une fois de plus. Sur la top lane, le conquérant, Khan. Dans la jungle, le prodige, Peanut. Sur la mid lane, l'homme qui marche dans les pas de FLICKR, BDD. On a des carries, le tueur, prêt. Et afin de le soutenir, bien sûr, Gorilla. Et enfin, bien sûr, leur coach, Axine. Ainsi que, bien sûr, le jungler remplaçant, Kai'Sa. S'il vous plaît, une dernière fois pour Kingzone, un tonnerre d'applaudissements. Mesdames et messieurs, vous pouvez prendre place, car cette deuxième demi-finale est sur le point de commencer. Une dernière fois pour les deux équipes, s'il vous plaît, un tonnerre d'applaudissements.
Both teams looking to challenge RNG tomorrow in the finals. Neither team in their home region, but the Parisian crowd, very warm welcome handed to both of these squads as they take to the stage today. Now, the winner of today's best of 5 will move forward to the finals taking place tomorrow against RNG, who put on quite the show yesterday against Fnatic.
And that's the thing, RNG really didn't have to stress so many strategies. They came out with the Caitlyn, they kind of rolled over Fnatic, but still a very close 3-0.
Yeah, the games had Fnatic with a gold lead in all 3 of them, but they could never quite get over the hump to killing RNG's Nexus.
Yeah, I think they managed to give the European fans a lot of hope in each game, and I'm glad they never actually backed down. They didn't try and change the strategy. They kept looking like the same team over and over, but let's be honest here, they were outmatched towards the end of each game, and that's why they lost 3-0.
Some questions definitely raised, though, about the state of RNG as they looked near unbeatable at the end of the group stage, and because of those gold leads built yesterday, Jat, the question is, hey, would another team with similar gold leads be able to bridge that gap?
Yeah, and that's something we're going to have to judge based on today's games as well, because RNG didn't have to change their strategy that often. We don't know how much more they have in the tank.
So let's dive right into it. Moving on to today's series, despite what felt like a total implosion for the Flash Wolves at Worlds 2017 and moving into 2018, the representatives from the LMS finished top 2 in MSI groups and must face a Korean team in the semifinals here.
And that's the thing, you know, losing Kai'Sa, losing that Kai'Sa Maple Star synergy, a lot of people discounted Flash Wolves, but they came in very hot and heavy into the group stage, rolling over everyone with massive leads, and particularly in the early game. These are, you know, 20-minute teams tops trying to find their wins at 25 to 27 minutes.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's the best group stage that Flash Wolves has ever had at MSI. They've 2-0'd a Korean team before, but have never looked this good going into the knockout stage.
So then let's go ahead and contrast that to the kind of rocky group stage that Kingzone had. Of course, getting 2-0'd by the very team they're going to face today.
Yeah, it's been such a weird tournament if you are a Korean fan, and we were all sitting back home during the split watching a Kingzone team destroy the LCK and felt like, okay, they were going to be unbeatable. But we have seen multiple members have issues when it comes to carrying games. Like Khan does not look like the guy we saw back in the LCK. BDD is no longer the guy who can just always get control of mid, and has left a lot of questions around Kingzone.
Exactly, and you look at how much they dominated the LCK, and then you also look at their international track record as a region. The LCK 19-3 in best of 5s against other regions all time, and if you just look at MSI history, 2 out of 3, the last 5 world championships, they've been so dominant, and Kingzone has looked shaky.
Well, this stat actually just makes it so hard with today's game, because you want to just look at a group stage and say, Flash Wolves look like the stronger team. They know exactly how to beat Kingzone. But because it is a best of 5, because they've had a couple of days now to look back at what went wrong during the group stage, it just feels so hard.
Always the adjustment period.
Exactly. It feels so hard to say, oh, no, this time it will not be the Korean team winning.
Well, let's try and parse through it a little bit to see how we got to the point where most pre-tournament predictions went totally awry. Look no further than the performances in the top lane, I think, with these two squads.
Yeah, for me, Khan, it's his individual performance. We've seen the carries, we've seen the tanks from him, but it's mostly just his decision-making that he's making on the map. You know, some of these teleports and the likes.
Yeah, and then you also have on the other side, Hanabi has been so strong in different situations. You thought he was just a tank player, then he pulled out the Yasuo up against Kingzone, and as a rookie, that was very unexpected, not to mention how often they've been able to blind pick his champion for the team.
That one is really important for their draft, which is something we can discuss later as well, but Hanabi often gets left kind of on his own, and he needs to do well against very, very good top laners. Khan is then the guy who normally punishes that. He will destroy you if you leave Khan alone. Not this tournament.
The thing that I'm really impressed, though, with Hanabi is his ability to recognize what his responsibility is to his team, however. When he's on a tank, we heard Fnatic talk about this guy is constantly grouping, he's not playing the side lanes, and it's because he recognizes exactly what Flash Wolves need from him in any particular moment.
It's probably fair to say that Khan has not really recognized what Kingzone needed from him in a lot of the games. When he's been on a tank or when he was on the Vladimir, he had bad TPs, or he was at the wrong place at the wrong time, like this example we see here where he just ends up dying. That's the TP I just referred to before you, where it's not even necessary. They've already left the team fight, and he comes in and he just ends up dying. And it's been a very rough tournament because he's not been able to just dominate 1v1.
I think it's interesting to think about the fact that over the last 2 years, if you think top lane, you think Khan. That name will rise to the top of a lot of discussions. You think the last 2 years, you think top lane. Hanabi was not a name that was known for many people prior to this tournament alone. And so what a task he has ahead of him, a best of 5 against Khan, even though he has found success so far in the group stages against him. But with that, I want to turn our attention to the prediction phase, that fun game we like to play around these best of 5. So who do you believe will deny, or rather make that trip to the finals and challenge RNG for the MSI title? Chat, we're going to start down there.
Yeah, you look at the way the Kingzone played in the group stage, and I don't think that's Kingzone's level. I think they will be able to recover a little bit for the best of 5 stages. And I look at how Flash Wolves was able to start 6-0, but finish 1-3. And I think Kingzone's going to be able to figure out what I think is a relatively fragile game state that Flash Wolves has been able to win in. And I think if Kingzone plays more like they did in the LCK, Khan with confidence, Peanut with confidence, aggressive play that they haven't been able to hit, they'll win 3-1.
Chat, trust that the homework's been done for the side of Kingzone. Deficio, what are you thinking?
I'm going Kingzone 3-2. I also trust they will look better, but I still think there'll be some issues for them. They will definitely lose some of these early games. They will have some issues in certain drafts where SwordArt gets a counter pick and bam, Flash Wolves can just fire off and actually do really well. But the reason I think the 3-2 kicks in is because Flash Wolves' late game, I'm not confident they will always be able to close out these games. I'm not confident they can always manage to secure that first Baron against Kingzone. So I think there will be some of these games that will bounce back. And then I can see with the flexibility of a Kingzone lineup towards the end of this, they know how to draft and they know how to beat Flash Wolves.
Froskin, what do you got for me?
I'm going to go Flash Wolves. I think when there's smoke, that there's fire, and I'm tired of a lot of people just banking on the fact that this is the Korean team. They cannot be infallible in a best of 5. I think we need to separate some of Kingzone from Korea. This is Khan that's underperformed multiple times on an international stage, including at Worlds. This is SwordArt against Prey and Gorilla. He has a winning record against this duo right now, and I think that stylistically, Flash Wolves hitting hard and early. Yes, if Kingzone play how they did domestically, they're just going to go toe-to-toe. I don't necessarily say LCK go back to that aggressive style and then roll over Flash Wolves.
Well, unlike yesterday, we have a split desk this time around. So I want to get into a little bit more why these predictions are made and how you think they might be fulfilled with some win conditions for these squads. Jat, you talk about maybe the homework being done for Kingzone. In your mind, what answers do they need to have arrived at in order to take down Flash Wolves?
Yeah, well, looking at Flash Wolves' successes, I think where Kingzone ends up starting. When you see Flash Wolves win, Moojin has the highest jungle proximity as well as camping mid lane for most of the game. Then they also get the pressure mid lane so that they can go bottom lane with a range support counter pick and kind of get that pressure. But if anything of that changes, if Khan can take over in the top lane, or if they can actually just get some of those power picks, I think they can foil some of the things Flash Wolves have been working on.
But I actually really like how Flash Wolves springboard Moojin into those setups. out of 11 games, they've invaded level 1 8 times, and so Flash Wolves understand exactly how to separate the map, how to get their jungler ahead. I think they recognize that this is such a vital strategy, as much as Kingzone will also recognize that they need to shut down Moojin.
Deficio, you were the 3-2 pick here, so I want to watch you kind of try and reconcile these points between the two other analysts.
I agree with everyone. Both teams can win, but
Yeah.
I think because Flash Wolves have focused so much on this one specific style, where there is a lot around having invading jungler and a bot lane that can push, Kingzone can go into the very first draft phase, which I think will actually be the most important one for the entire series, because it will show us if these teams are reading each other. Kingzone can go in and say, we will actually last pick for Gorilla this time. We will try and have a winning bot lane. And let's see then if Hanabi is ready, first game on stage, to grab a carry top and go toe-to-toe again.
I can feel the energy on the desk. I know you guys want to jump in some more, but it's time for some gameplay. So we're going to toss it up to the casters to get us into game 1 of this semifinal series.
Merci beaucoup, Dash. Bienvenue, mesdames et messieurs. Welcome to Paris. I speak a little of the local language. I am Freak, here with Sam, Kobe, Hartman, Kensler, Chris, Papa Smithy Smith. Who's excited like me?
I don't know exactly like Freak, if we can be excited like Freak.
I guess. Exactly. It's going to be absolutely wonderful. Regional champions, Flash Wolves on your left, winning the LMS so many times in a row. Kingzone on the far right, formerly Longju last year, 2-time LCK champions as well, hoping this will not be a knockout stage exit like it was last time.
Certainly an impressive resume here from Kingzone, you know, and they should be the feared team.
Yeah.
Should be kind of the top of the table. However, Flash Wolves have really upset that table here at MSI so far.
And already we might be surprised that Flash Wolves have chosen blue side for game number 1. Kingzone this tournament 5-1 on the red side, but Flash Wolves, the last time these two teams faced, it was Flash Wolves blue side.
And the Flash Wolves, last time they did play versus Kingzone, so just supreme confidence. It was so inspiring. They first picked and blind picked all 3 of their top side of the map champions. Blind pick Camille for Hanabi, Moojin takes the Graves, and Maple the Taliyah as well for themselves. And they were able to play off of that without having to worry about bottom lane bans.
And they played against the tendencies of Cuz, who was in the jungle on that day. We do have Peanut, superstar jungler, back in the lineup, still looking to defend his MSI crown with SKT 1 year ago. The champion pools are certainly pretty different there.
Definitely true. The play style's a little bit as well. You can already see, though, Kingzone banning out the Graves. They're not going to let Moojin take that one again. That was a big part of, you know, them going for the level 1 invades the Analyst S was referring to.
Well, you heard it, FLICKR said 8 invades out of 11 games for Flash Wolves here. They definitely want to play early and aggressive and get those early game leads. Interestingly, at 10, these teams have been very close, but by 10 to 15 minutes when Flash Wolves had been taking over the games, and of course, Kingzone hoping to get away from that.
And the other part of, you know, a lot of the early game pushing presence and trying to go for invades has been this discussion of the bottom lane. You know, SwordArt counterpicking bottom lane, oftentimes with a range support to try and harass and push up.
It's very interesting, because look at what's available. Every AD carry, barring, of course, the marksman, jungler, and Grace, is available. Ezreal, available and first picked by Fnatic every game yesterday. Ezreal, we know, Prey was the first teleport Ezreal in the tournament, and it seems like Rakan is being higher prized by Flash Wolves.
That's very interesting as well. Of course, we've seen Kai'Sa be the queen of the bottom lane here, and one that Flash Wolves were willing to give up, but Kingzone might want to shy away from that and have a stronger laning phase. The Ezreal is locked in.
Prey's Ezreal, definitely fearsome, but
okay.
Irelia! I was so excited yesterday to see the Irelia and how you can play around this. But I first wanted to touch on the Rakan, because this is kind of a different move here from Flash Wolves, where in the group stage, they have tremendously valued range supports. And they only had the 1 Rakan game. But if you go further back into the LMS, lots of this year was SwordArt, hard engaged, setting up the team through creating the plays himself.
And this is actually a surprise as well, the fact that Betty now bringing in his first Kai'Sa game. This is a champion he left up against Kingzone before, wouldn't draft the champion, now bringing it out in the knockout stage.
And already you're saying, okay, I need to see more of the draft, because first pick Rakan into not going Rakan, first time on the Kai'Sa, and it's potentially going to give up Ezreal and Tahm Kench, the very standard duo that we see Kingzone prize so often. So on paper, you're like, okay, this is a whole lot of comfort on the red side.
But I really do like the draft from the LMS side, because you can play Rakan Cog into the Kai'Sa and have a good laning phase and try to bully the champion out, saying, yes, go for the safe Ezreal. Ezreal, not much of a lane bully. Now you have a free license to play Kai'Sa and survive a laning phase here. I think this is actually a very good draft, playing on the expectations of not being a Kai'Sa player, Betty.
Jungle can change everything, though. Papa Smithy brought it up. Peanut is back in the driver's seat, and now he has the Olaf, the premier bully jungler for early presence.
His premier jungler as well. 6-0, 65 KDA. Died once the entire year. He was a monster. He played Olaf before the last buffs came through, and I said, I don't know what we're doing here with these buffs for Olaf. He looked even better afterward.
The champion just works so well with Peanut's playstyle and trying to utilize those lanes for a lot of early presence, looking for weaknesses in the enemy jungle.
But we still feel like we have to, once again, let things like Peanut's playstyle and the Kingzone anecdotes be earned this series, because they haven't been earned. The plaudits haven't been earned on the tournament. So let's watch and see whether they do have the priority to allow them to invade, whether they can ape all the great style they had back in the LCK, because still, there's so much to be resolved.
All right, well, the banning phases are ending up here. The Olaf, of course, already locked in, and I'm very curious to see if Kingzone can make the early game work. They had something like a 95% win rate in the LCK. If they had a gold lead at 15 minutes, Olaf, the king of early game jungle. Of course, Ezreal prints free money. I want to see if Kingzone can play the style, as you mentioned, that they had in the LCK.
Definitely looks to be a strong opening so far, because Flash Wolves have really relied this tournament on getting the first turret, getting the presence in the bottom lane, but Kai'Sa and Rakan, as well as having Skarner as your jungler, doesn't really jump out you as gonna have that bottom lane control.
I already mentioned it, this is definitely the lane duo du jour for Kingzone. They go for the Ezreal, Tahm, Kench all the time. Look at this, actually a shout out by the Flash Wolves fans going for a bit of a currying favor with the Parisian crowd.
Some good memories there. Pantheon made a huge, huge impact. Our first international event here at Paris. Now, though, we also need to remember back to yesterday. Irelia was played in the mid lane, so technically this is still a possible flex pick for Kingzone. BDD has played many melee champions. Yes, you know, the Scion was one of the premier, and going for the Banner of Command, Irelia would be played a much different way.
And of course, Khan strikes you as an Irelia player. He was one of the few practicing it in the top lane when it was released. Of course, patches changed much since then, but this is the same matchup that we saw the Irelia played into yesterday.
And it is a very exciting champion that relies so much on cooldown tracking for both you and your opponent, and trying to go for openings with burst damage, as well as dodging spells. Nice, we're gonna have the Camille matchup, as well as dodging spells with resets of your Blade Surge.
Sinjax banned against Khan in this tournament, and Camille blind. They'll be getting a really fun skill matchup here. This is certainly one that Khan, if in form, if confident, would back himself into.
Yes!
The Grandmaster at Arms is here in this semifinal.
Oh, BDD can dodge spells, Khan can dodge auto attacks. This is exciting. The quintessential, in my opinion, Khan champion in the knockout stage, game one.
And we know what they have. Great dive, great backline access, strong team fighting. They do not have siege. It's 4 melee champions and an Ezreal. This has to be about exact time. It just needs to be the Kingzone invading and setting the tone, because otherwise there could be some great options for Flash Wolves with their mobility.
Definitely excited here, because we talk about the top triangle of the map so often with Kingzone, and now they're running 3 melee champions, gonna look for these all-ins and look for the kills. We may have blood in the water early, friends.
This is exciting. Crowd control, ganks, and early pressure seems to be the name of the game here for Kingzone. And we'll see if the backline can survive this. Kai'Sa can turn invisible, she can blink around. I actually expect Betty to have the tools he needs to survive a lot of this, but a volatile and exciting early game can upset all of that. We've heard from interviews from both Flash Wolves and Kingzone, honestly, that it seems the early game matters a lot more here in this tournament with the quality of players, the type of strategies being run. Early game tends to mean victory. Oftentimes it's first turret. Bottom lane is where a lot of that pressure congeals, but of course with a Camille and a Jax up the top side, top lane split push, 1-3-1, these kinds of styles seemingly in the forefront in this game.
I just need it to all come together, Frick. I need to see it on the roof. I need it in my veins. Korean League of Legends is back, but is it just like it was in spring season? Or is it the Kingzone that so far this tournament have flattered to deceive?
Yeah, it's been very interesting tracking Kingzone, because you come in and you saw them absolutely smash the LCK Domestic League, and with very few exceptions, Korea wins every tournament they ever go to here. But Kingzone have had a pretty rough run, 2-4 in the group stage against other playoff teams. It was not the Kingzone we had yet expected, nor was it the Flash Wolves we expected, where it was like maybe they're a 4th or 5th place team, we'll see how they go, but they came out to that 6-0 start. They were 2-0 against Kingzone themselves in the group stage. Certainly a tournament that has defied expectations, but now in a best of 5, it could be either team.
One of the big tournament metas that involve, not necessarily around champions, but play style has been invading around 1 minute. We're seeing Flash Wolves a bit ahead of the clock here. Usually around 1 minute 30, we see the late invade. Already they're sniffing on the top side.
Definitely want to get some early vision on where Olaf is going to start and the possibilities of Peanut trying to path around this top half.
You can see, as we were talking about, Korea very rarely fails in best of 5s. International tournaments is what this is talking about right here. And yeah, there's a reason everyone, no matter what you saw in the group stage, bets on Koreans.
And 1105 days there, 1,105 days was, of course, the famous MSI final 3 years ago in Tallahassee. It was EDG upsetting SKT on the day. Will today be another big statistic to remember?
Well, we can see here that Kingzone have full vision of Flash Wolves starting their red, using the Skarner to take this one away. And Olaf here, Peanut is, oh, never mind, we're gonna have a little bit of a trade. Peanut is still taking the Raptors, knowing that Moojin is on the red so that he won't have a full red side counter jungle and he can go cross map to the blue to be able to continue his own path.
Definitely makes you want to watch the bot side to see if he can invade with pressure. Speaking of pressure,
that's a stun, a lot of damage. Exhaust on SwordArt. He's going to have to turn the summoner heal, and Betty walks up to take a Mystic Shot, keeping his support alive, but that is a lot of punishment put through.
And this does give Kingzone pressure and presence in the bot side as a sort of thing that Olaf could invade with to counter jungle Skarner after having watched him take his red.
Everyone does get super carried away with the Kai'Sa once she's fed, once she's scaled up with multiple evolutions and has the Rage Blade and is at full power. But the early laning phase doesn't have as many answers. Prey and Gorilla taking advantage, pushing in with the minion wave, and we talked about that setting up junglers to have much more priority.
See, Peanut gets that Scuttle Crab here. I want to point out, by the way, this is actually going to be a nice fight in the top side. His stun comes through and able to walk back out. I'm interested in the fact that it is a comet for Hanabi in the top side. He's not going for a dueling or trading Keystone. He's going for poke, but getting pushed out right now by Khan.
Comet, very common here for laning phase for trying to be able to have better trades. But let's talk a bit more about this matchup here with Jax and Camille and why Khan picked it into him. Such a big answer is the Counter-Strike, because Camille, when you hookshot and try and jump onto the wall, you only have 0.75 seconds to be able to stay there and make your decision. Whereas Jax, if you activate Counter-Strike, you have a much longer duration, 2 seconds, to make your choice and either go for the stun, keep it up to block all of her damage. You basically get to push her off of any sort of choice with which to start it off.
We're seeing the backfill right now. Moojin was there in case there was a dive, as Hanabi was a little bit low on health right there, but going to be able to grab the wave. But +6 CS as the lane resets. Khan is so far winning in the matchup.
And do notice that overall Peanut did surrender any chance of picking up a red buff. It was a 3-buff start where right now the experience lead isn't being felt, but there will be less camps available to Peanut in his jungle.
Here we go though. Moojin is coming for a lane gank here.
Notice he doesn't have boots, so he doesn't have access to Predator.
Just kites back away. Oh, gets spotted right there by Khan. Actually, he sees the champion, pings it out. Will there be any more of a trade as Khan runs back? He's going to be out of range, but again, he knows Moojin is walking up to that brush, and there's the leap strike away. He's going to recall.
Timing there, and seeing him was so important. No Predator to roll through the lanes. No chance he would have got a shot in at the time. The bot side, though.
Good knock a kite back. Yeah, going to be okay here on the spot side. Again, looking at the farm right there. Still a small lead towards Prey and Gorilla, but one that will be made up as the wave pushes in.
So much control here for Kingzone early on. And this is kind of the difference that we talked about with what they wanted to change from their last meeting with Flash Wolves. They were so clear in their interview afterwards, we need to play more aggressively. In order to do that, we're going to have to draft more offensively for the lanes and also be more proactive with the jungle.
Predator
here, though,
he's going to go for the knockup. Nice flash wave by Gorilla, but could there be a repeat as Moojin now knows he's got no escape to slow us in. Flash the stun. They've got the chain CC. The kill is going to go over, but stolen by SwordArt. Ignite takes the goal.
Huge for Flash Wolves here. They immediately target Gorilla, completely ignore the Ezreal. They know that Prey has way too many outs, and they're able to punish him. Tahm, Kench down early on.
Really assertive stuff by Moojin in particular. Just shown topside buys the boots, ready to go with the Predator, successful gank, and like you mentioned, Kobe, turning this kind of defensive Kai'Sa in the laning phase and unlocking it earlier. It's always a big thing in your checklist for winning the game. Not spotted around the vision. The Predator comes up, and Gorilla knows he's in trouble.
Yeah, SwordArt able to go in. Rakan very easily forcing the flash out. That makes it easy for Moojin to answer. He knows there's nowhere for Gorilla to go. Flashes in, gets the Skarner stun, and they're able to pick up the kill.
And I really like the synergy there as well. Betty ran forward with the supercharger, gave extra distance so SwordArt could jump to him first, then go for the CC as we saw the flash force. But now Peanut looking topside. Hanabi does have flash though.
Yeah, and Hanabi is playing it fairly safe, you know, at his turret here, just trying to CS, not overextending. So even though Peanut wants to punish Moojin here for the aggressive bot side move, there's not much that he can actually do. Moojin has been such a standout performer for this team on the world stage, having such big shoes to fill when Kai'Sa left the team, you know, one of the iconic Flash Wolves players. And Moojin has just been a delight to watch and definitely a success, especially for a rookie.
I mean, his aggressive playstyle has kind of reminded me of what I saw on the domestic stage from Peanut this year. So it's been great to see him executing in a way that so far Peanut has been frustrated. Now, Peanut has been able to match farm. We should talk about other people's requirements and kind of responsibilities in a game like this, because of course the most criticized member of Kingzone has been Khan up the top side. Talking about his role and how his role has changed is kind of the most interesting thing. We have a stat here. I want you to look at the columns here. LCK Spring, whether it was a win or a loss, 40% forward percentage. That means he's pushing up. He's making the top laner on the enemy side accountable, usually farming under his turret, while Khan has first priority. Notice here on the right column, 44% in wins. Okay, keeping with that plus 40% stat, 18% in losses. That means he's been pushing. That means that his jungler doesn't have the priority to roam with him and invade. We usually talk about what Khan and Peanut can do together to get him a lead. In those losses, it has not panned out at this tournament.
And how emblematic is exactly that scene? Peanut face checks a brush with an axe and goes, I'm gonna hide from my red buff because Khan is under his turret. He can't help me. I might lose my red, certainly my Raptors right now.
Flash Wolves has been insane this tournament. They have had such high jungle proximity as well, which is something that we usually associate with just a super aggressive jungler looking for, you know, ganks all the time. But it doesn't just mean ganks, you know. And as the game has evolved to be more tandem jungle pressure, we have seen a lot of jungle proximity numbers being inflated by laners coming to help counter jungle. And as you just illustrated, Freak, right there on your screen, we had a pushing top lane Hanabi, as well as Maple moving up right next to the Skarner to help him out with the counter jungling and further add to those numbers.
And while we were really hyped to see the Irelia into Taliyah, we know how this lane develops. You're not going to get that buddy system with Irelia early. She's going to spend most of the lane under the turret. She's very strong at lasting, then maybe looking for a trade when she stacks up her passive, blade surging around. But she's not actually going to be able to invade with Peanut, and BDD and Peanut was where every win for Kingzone ran through. They were the quarterback deciding, is it top, is it bot? That hasn't happened for them this tournament.
It is so interesting to track, and we're getting so deep into it, even though this game is so close at the moment, because there is so much of this matchup that you're talking about with the Irelia and Taliyah that hinges on the possibilities of all-in and kill pressure. Aurelia's big move there is the extra mobility that you can get dashing around with the Blazer, trying to mark your targets with either your E or your ultimate first cast, to then be able to dodge out Taliyah's skill shots, avoid most of her damage, and close for the jungler pressure.
Well, junglers maybe, and a Tahm Kench showing up on the bottom side as Moojin gets exhausted for over the wall. It's a lot of damage. He doesn't have a way out in the wall. Unfortunately, cuts off the escape. Moojin goes down, still flashless. Kingzone finally answer.
And that kill goes over to the Irelia, further funding the burst damage that BDD can output. Now he's got a red buff on top of it. Blade Surge does apply on hit effects, so this is going to cede all mid lane control over to him for the time being.
And we raised the question yesterday when we saw Taliyah versus Irelia. Let's bring it up again. In the late game, or in the mid to late game, when these items come together, he's going to keep it all in.
Has a reason.
Oh, he protects it! BDD with the solo kill!
Flawless duet indeed. Places down the first blade, waits for the flash before sending out the second, and annihilating Maple there.
Last time we saw BD on the Yasuo never got going. The game was decided around him with the Zac not being able to do anything. This game, he gets his eye in, he has the red buff, and oh boy, does he make Maple pay.
We just talked about marking targets for the Blade Surge reset, and Maple, immaculate use there. Now though, on the top side, Hanabi going in.
This time Khan is marked. There comes the ultimatum, and here comes Moojin. Does have the open stunned away, and the flash gets him out of range. No chase through. Good escape for Khan.
Problem solved through that, didn't die. That was the most important thing there after mid lane has got such a big lead. They cannot afford to return. Khan struggles on the top side. Evolution of the side lanes here. The Taliyah struggles. Maybe a thing. We're still waiting for the first, the second Weaver's Wall this game. The first one was to try to cut them off from killing the Skarner. They want to make a proactive one in the first 20 minutes.
Now back into the jungle. Flash was licking their wounds. 500 gold down. Kingzone have gotten 2 kills in a row despite a little bit of early pressure on the bottom side. We can see that Frey has kept up in farm, and Irelia seems to be in an okay spot as well, pushing on towards his build. So Kingzone finally having a good early game for themselves against Flash Wolves. They had basically never been up in gold the entire time they played them in those 2 games in the group stage.
I love what we're seeing there in the mid lane as well, because the kill pressure there that we talked about with BDD, further accentuated by vision control around mid lane. So Maple does not want to step out, does not want to expose himself, and Peanut is using a lot of his time sitting in that brush around mid lane.
Has to be available for the counter gank if necessary, trying to patrol that area. Moojin himself patrolling bot side, but the lane gank might be coming.
It's a pretty hard shove, and I think actually there's a chance that True Shot Barrage spotted Skarner lane ganking that, as it does give vision coming down, but now BDD and the rest of the team are going to take over Raptors. It'll be a nice little bit of counter jungling as Maple can try to stop, but will not get any of it.
We're seeing such a different ward pattern than when we saw the last time Flash Wolves and Kingzone played. Again, it was on blue side, it was tracking Zac. Notice there are no wards advanced of the river here for Flash Wolves. They don't have that same tabs on Peanut like they did against Cubs.
Kingzone starting to get more aggressive, but Moojin's lying in wait down on the bottom side. Both junglers are converging.
That might have been a spot there on the Olaf. Look for the hard engage. Going to be a 3v3 down here. SwordArt might have to run. Predator is on, but they're not going to go for Peanut. Has the ult to get out of the impale, so it's going to be just an harvest down to the bottom lane.
Peanut with the taunts here, dancing on Olaf, knows that they have the upper hand with the huge chunk of life out of SwordArt. And this is the attitude that you associate with this player. This is the attitude that Peanut will bring to the lineup.
It's just such a different proposition to Cuz. Cuz is there to facilitate laners. Laners give the information, laners shot call. That's what BDD mentioned in his interview. When Peanut is there, Peanut decides where you're going. And just like they started off when he joined the roster, both the top lane and the mid lane have changed their names to Ward of Peanut 1 and Ward of Peanut 2. They know where their bread is buttered.
Peanut is in his best form when he is the one calling the shots. And now he's definitely feeling confident. He does have timer on the red buff, but it looks like they're going to go over and get the blue first. He definitely has a lot of clearing to do on his side. Looks like it's going to be handed off to PDD, now 11 on that Irelia.
That's going to hurt a lot. Will get away from True Shot Barrage, but Gorilla can actually threaten to dive. He's going to keep walking up on Betty, and now he has to give up potentially that cannon minion. Can they block the W? Anything else? He, I believe, doesn't get the last hit there. Looks like it died to the turret right there. Either way, red is going to be secured cleanly enough. Moojin grabs that with the smite, but still has not found his way into a gank ever since the first 3 minutes of the game here. SwordArt kites back down. Kingzone getting very good damage to this turret. 3 down there already. Teleport not up for Khan, is for Hanabi, but there will not be a flank just yet as his turret is losing all of its life, and looks like Peanut and Frey going to share that first turret gold.
The Flash Wolves were previously 7-1 when they get the first turrets. But Kingzone have taken that away from them, pushing on the bottom side. Peanut focusing down here, multiple visits to help out and finish off this objective. Now Kingzone are in their normal state that you would expect from the LCK and the early game control.
And this time they've got the extra answers to the questions that Flash Wolves were posing in the 2 times we saw these teams meet. They surprised Kingzone with the top lane Yasuo. Kingzone thought, okay, blind, no, there's nothing left open. The Yasuo got pressure and was able to carry them to that victory. And then the second time around, it was all about shutting down Cuz. Again, Kingzone, they thought, don't worry, we can just weather the storm and be there for a team fight. That didn't happen either. This time the Irelia very early has still gotten a favorable matchup into the Taliyah outside of the early levels. And this time, for once against Kingzone, Moojin is on the back foot and having to give over things to Peanut.
And now that we've got the early objective off the table, we'll turn our eyes towards the next sort of power spikes that are going to come through for these teams. Now, there are 3 Trinity forces that should be being built here for Kingzone. Khan in the top lane, BDD in the mid lane, as well as Prey in the bottom lane. And once these come together,
oh baby,
that is going to be the mother of mid-game power spike.
The mother spike?
Oh, it's going to be beautiful. My favorite item builds coming to fruition here. Kingzone obviously guaranteed now to win game 1 first. Trinity Force is done as BDD will add some more magic just a bit later on in his build to survive the mage in his lane matchup. But this is the beginning of the very good things for Kingzone here. As you mentioned, those spikes coming through. Ezreal about to climb up as well. Betty's on his first item. Obviously, Kai'Sa, no slouch in the scaling department either, but certainly things to watch out for. Kingzone going to feel very good in this mid game. Looking at everyone's gold right now. Still a bit to go for Khan, but not too far away right now is Prey's Ezreal.
And Kai'Sa, it's a good thing you bring this up because Betty is going to have a difficult game himself. They've got multiple members that will be diving towards the Kai'Sa, and he needs to rush as quickly as possible for his invisibility upgrade to have any sort of defensive, options here as far as evading an Irelia that will be jumping to the back line with flanks from Jax and Olaf.
Impossible for him to stack up the plasma stacks when the counter-strike is running. Obviously going to be pretty difficult when Olaf is running straight at you with ultimate. So actually getting the passive damage, to me, is a lot of the kit coming through from the Kai'Sa. It's going to be struggle street for the side effect.
All right, well, here comes the Mountain Drake attempt. Kingzone trying to play around their mid lane power spike. A couple items and everyone else as well. Down 2500 HP, and Flash Wolves do want to be here. You can see Hanabi kiting back to maybe look for a TP. Weaver's Wall comes up, is going to separate Olaf. Can that be the ghost signal? Teleport's coming around. One of them over the wall. Those could be very dangerous. Hanabi might have to jump over to get himself a good spot. Oh, it's going to be a cancel out, and that's going to mean Jax pushing top lane as a trade for this Mountain Drake. Not going to be a true shot barrage to lane. That's going to be secured here, so what can Khan get topside?
If you can get the turret, at this point in the game, you might take it. You want to get your 3 Trinity Force power spikes as early as possible. Gold may be more valuable than a Mountain Drake in this situation. When you spike so cleanly at one big item on 3 champions, you just take it.
Especially considering the locations of the teleports available there. There's no one that's a true tank here on either side quite yet. So teleporting in like that with 4 members of the opposing team around you, even with Counter-Strike available, would be a very dangerous option for them. And they decide to not take that route, just trade objectives, getting some gold on the other side of the map.
And I just look at SwordArt's job, because SwordArt has been the god of engaged supports for a very long time. Yeah. Alistair, we saw it in play-ins, very famous pick for him. He's on the Rakan, and you normally with Rakan, you can visualize where he's going with the Grand Engines, where he's going with the quickness. It almost seems like he needs to be peeling with that ability in this particular game, because getting on an Ezreal is always tricky at the best of times, and everyone else is going to be in melee range of Betty basically every fight.
Yeah, with these squishier melee damage dealers as solo lanes, it would probably be a good option for SwordArt, as you're saying, to peel. Go for a Khan and BDD lockup right in front, rather than trying to expend a lot of your movement going towards the back line. But again, every team fight with these dynamic of setups is going to look different depending on the positioning.
Well, the power spikes are in, of course, triple Trinity Force here. Couldn't get the Mountain Drake for it, Kingzone. They had to wait a little bit longer until the items could come through. Of course, that turret trade is still there. Look at the chunks down. Betty at 1/3 HP just from a simple combo out of Prey, and now the mid lane siege. As weak as it might be in the mid to late game, they've got so much more stats that their opponents might have a good chance of knocking some turrets down right now.
And we just have to use different color caster words to describe what Flash Wolves need to do than we had to in any previous Flash Wolves versus Kingzone game. This is about losing the minimum. There's no way to out-team fight, barring a huge pick, the items that are already completed here. So it's about delaying turrets going down. It's about playing on the back foot.
And look at the need for power right now. Betty's got 3 daggers, so he can just get to his E-Evolve right now. 109% attack speed, so he does have at least the invisibility to try and rely upon. SwordArt, though!
Who was smited for slow, had to flash away. Thankfully, no easily reliable hard crowd control. The only thing that's not just a direct skill shot would be Khan's E, so locking turrets or locking targets down can be difficult.
And it's going to be 3 lanes played by Kingzone, because who's matching Jax with the Trinity Boss? Who's matching the Irelia, who even has a QSS and doesn't need to respect the Skarner as much? They may not be taking down the turret quickly. We already said melee champions, not a great siege team. A 5-man ARAM is a mistake in game plan coming through from Kingzone, so keep playing the entire map.
I do want to see what the 1-3-1 looks like later on, because BDD is running Ignite on the Irelia, so getting back to the team going to be a little bit more difficult than it can be on other more typical split pushes like a Rise or even a LeBlanc who can run teleport or just have the map ability to get back there. A player definitely I want to track as this game goes on. We can see wards coming in. Eventually for Moojin has gone for the Relic Shield and is stacking that up as fast as he can. And it seems like the Flash Wolves game plan, as you mentioned, Papa Smithy, lose the minimum, get the vision up, prevent a Baron take now that that's spawned at 20 minutes during that power spike, and get to the point where your mage can take over team fights.
And stop the forward vision from going down as objective spawn. Just the Baron spawning. Now suddenly going to be a great impetus to get wards on the top side. Bot side wards as Dragon spawns is also a big thing for Kai'Sa.
Yeah, you can tell Flash Wolves here just trying to clear out their own jungle at the moment. Hanabi, he pushed up the wave, then he'll go take the Krugs or something, rather than exposing himself off on the side, since even though Flash Wolves do have the Taliyah and they have a little bit of mobility themselves, it is much more difficult for them to try and fight spread out.
Again, chunks down. It's so far just a trade of farm back and forth. No major issues on either side. Kingzone, you hope for their sake they're not squandering their advantages, but still more poke out of prey. Mana is running a bit low. Does not have that second tier just yet. Might have to recall to refuel those reserves, but do you want to see still what they push for?
Also notice, his teleport's not available. So for once, him being out of mana is actually relevant, because it will actually lead to the 25, 30 seconds to get back to lane. Not leaving just yet, though. Trying to get this turret so close to getting it in the mid lane.
So close to getting the turret, and they're still stacking up these CS leads. Just look how much control and how much gold Kingzone have been getting from the CS advantages for themselves. They've been able to pressure down the objectives as well as get the maximum out of these minions.
And that's not just their last hitting better, it's just that because they have two unassailable side laners, minions are dying to the turret that Flash Wolves can't get to because they need to respect the power levels of the Kingzone solos.
As a region, LCK had the highest CS per minute of any of the regions that we had coming here to the tournament. Definitely showing up this time around.
Rakan now starting to play very aggressive. That bot lane editor turret already gone, now playing pretty much on top of Flash Wolves' Krugs. The Kingzone full court press. Of course, Khan does have teleport. Hanabi's back up, though, as well. That Camille had teleported down for the Mountain Drake. That difference in timing because of Khan's cancel didn't amount to too much here, but now split pushing down. I want to see as the next items coming through. Trinity Force has been met by Hanabi, so the 1v1 less bad as it was before.
And in the 1-3-1, Prey's going to get the most value out of Mystic Shot, so he should just skip over the Blade of the Ruin King, go for the very early double tier upgrades, means the poke's harder. It's mid lane.
Knock up on Olaf is going to pop unstoppable, run back away. Ragnarok now down, might be next round could work.
Every cooldown really important with 10 seconds left on this Infernal Drake, but Kingzone, even with the Olaf ultimate burn, should be able to set up first.
It is a game of chess, but like we're saying, in the meantime, since Kingzone had this sort of a lead, there's suddenly a hurricane out of 3 daggers. There are items adding up for Betty. The turret goes down, but it was delayed about 3 or 4 minutes, and that brought a hurricane and a dream for the side of Flash Wolves.
The gold's still leeching forward towards the red side. The Mountain Drake, as you mentioned, Kobe, in control as well. Flash Wolves might be looking over the wall, but it might require a flash. They're putting it down so fast, never in smite range. BDD might go for the stun, gets one to the back line. They're going to dive in. They've almost picked them off. SwordArt has to kite away, and now, once again, they're re-engaged. They've been slowed and disarmed, but Flash Wolves able to run. Prey finds some poke, but it will be Flash Wolves able to get away, not burning more than one of their own.
And you can tell, hesitant to commit there from Kingzone because they didn't quite have Khan in position. BDD uses his flash early to get out on Irelia.
The games are all about percentages. We knew that Flash Wolves actually pinged that Khan couldn't be there, that he was walking down. You could try to play with incomplete information and try to take a fight, and assuming that the enemy doesn't know Jack's there, they take the safer choice. They still get the big objective, which is the Infernal. And on a team like this, Infernal is very welcome.
Though it didn't look flashy over the last 6 minutes, Kingzone have actually pushed their gold lead up to 5,000, plus that extra Drake they've picked up. Unfortunate for them, double Infernal, lots of extra stats to add to their 3-carry composition. Kingzone looking poised to remain in control for this one. Items, of course, still coming through. A flat penetration build, including Morellonomicon, eventually in for Maple here.
Ezreal coming in, trying to stack up that Ceres Embrace as early as possible.
Let's see what comes in next. Once again, we've got this 6-minute lull between Drakes, but Kingzone always are able to play for the Baron Nash if they want to. The outer turret's all gone. Flash Wolves still yet to pick up one at the 25-minute mark here. Gonna be a bit of time in the top side, but
as you can see as well, Gorilla constantly in the mid lane here, feinting to either side with these control wards, threatening the Tahm Kench ultimate to try and add some power and add some pressure to both of these side lane pushes.
And after the Infernal Drake, the next objective we were looking for from Kingzone, if you follow the playbook, is pushing up the vision. Their vision has been shallow. They haven't actually been allowing their solo laners to get turret damage onto inner turrets. Now that there's no other objective to contest other than Baron, controlling the blue side jungle of Flash Wolves, that's the area around Baron. That's the gold standard for what Kingzone are doing.
All right, if you're Flash Wolves, you're still looking for that opening in the armor of Kingzone. They have the ability to make it happen. SwordArt, great initiator on Rakan, can pull off a long-range move. Maple could follow with the Taliyah ultimate, but Kingzone are controlling that vision you talk about so well that they're able to make the rotations and counter so quickly.
Now, you look at items like QSS, you can say, oh, but there's no threat onto Kingzone. Consider, like you say, Weaver's Wall, Killer Instinct. They can actually have 5 members collapse on a Skarner very quickly, or any hard CC coming in. So they do have the ability to just pop in, try to burst down one member even through a defensive ability, and that's kind of their best way to, once again, slow down the roll of Kingzone.
And to even combo with that, we just saw Flash Wolves get some vision over Baron finally themselves. Control ward inside the pit, a couple of regular wards on that river as well. So Kingzone, again, not a lot of aggressive options available to them. This gold lead, I expect, might just stagnate at 4,000 if Kingzone are only really playing to take elemental drakes. We're clearly, as you mentioned, not seeing sieges, and the split pushes aren't getting all the way to that tier 2 turret, so no major damage being dealt.
But the question is, with Kingzone's comp, you look at the fact that there's so much threat on Betty, and you don't really necessarily see a point where like gold gets to a certain point, items pile up, and then Flash Wolves be able to outplay. If anything, Flash Wolves from ahead are oppressive because they have range on the Taliyah. They could play lanes, they can siege much better than Kingzone. If Kingzone are just guaranteeing we get to a 60,000 gold game, you'd still take them pretty handedly in a 5v5.
It's going to be interesting to see these 5v5s play out too. SwordArt does go in for a knockup.
Once again, it's the ulti down from Olaf. Might not mean much more, though. We'll see if there is much of a re-engage. Prey's going to go forward, looks for damage, chunks out Betty, and that's going to be Summoner heal out plus more. The health bar missing. Kai'Sa to the side, but is there going to be a re-engage? Not just yet, not through that carpet.
It looks like 2 Mystic shots and it all just kills the enemy AD carry straight up. Such the early stacking from Prey.
Yep, Prey's got 3 items completed right now. Double buffs on the Ezreal, and that chunk gives them control over the vision around Baron.
And let's talk about a different speed. Their Baron damage speed is immense. Triple Trinity Force and just how strong Prey is. Bot lane.
First aggressive play, looking for the fight in the bottom side as Khan does not have an easy escape route. Flashes and still dies to ignite.
There we go. The pressure valve has been broken. They use the Weaver's Wall down to the bottom, get a very quick kill onto the Jax, and that could open up some further objective pressure here from Flash Wolves. They want to get some of the standing gold. All the outer turrets are still available. Moojin, though, checking the dark.
Spot him out.
One versus 3, knows what's going on. Does still have the flash, I do believe. Here comes some help, and it's going to be the re-engage. A 3-man charm and a knockup. Is there more of a fight to be had? As SwordArt kites right back out, and Betty is going to stay safe for now. Looking at the next bit of the play as BDD is coming around into the eventual 5v4, though. Into the back line goes BDD, catches one, but it is going to be a trade as they keep going. A double kill for the mid lane. Not going to be enough damage as Hanabi as the stun comes out, and BDD is still on the run, and Maple is on the chase. A nice pick up there as Peanut falls down, kills left, right, and center, a 3 for 3.
Execution there, not fantastic by Kingzone, but BD cleans up the mess anyway on the Irelia, who's so much further ahead than his Yasuo last time out.
Oh my goodness, Moojin gets chunked out of that fight so early, he doesn't even really get to participate when SwordArt finds so much time. Now it's Kingzone back out onto the map. Khan uses teleport.
It's 3v2 in terms of players. There is no smite for them, but neither is there for Moojin, who is dead. Right now, SwordArt just respawned, so a 2v3 Baron stop. This is going to be dangerous. Prey has 5 health, and that's a quick kill for Betty. Kites away from Khan, another in for Maple, and now Jax can only run. Oh, he can turn it back, though. Gets the kill, stays alive as well. Still, 2 for 1. Flash Wolves win that skirmish.
It was a ward on the Baron, so they knew the exact timings there. I don't understand what Kingzone were trying to do. Prey was walking up, he knew Killer Instinct was down, didn't matter, he dies instantly.
Everyone raises their hand. I'm bad, I can do a lot of damage. I'm bad, I can do a lot of damage too. We can burn through it. Not the case here. Flash Wolves back out onto the map.
Oh boy.
Scariness. You've got a split threat team as well. Both the Mage and the Taliyah, the Kai'Sa, the Arch been able to kite away and do a really good job. Baron helping, of course, making it somewhat of a 3v3. And now this game, again, back to 4,500 gold apart.
They like that, showed the Kingzone, haven't been able to shrug off. There was some execution errors throughout that particular skirmish. They still end up ahead. Where damage is, here we go.
Great, knockback Khan still missing his flash, of course, half HP and no good regen tools. couple of healthy fruit, but still under 2,000 health left.
And when there's so much damage on both teams possible here, chunks like that mean a tremendous amount before the objective comes up. You get half a health off one of these carries, that's now an opportunity. That's how the last fight even exploded.
And summoner use for the side of Flash was also something, because we know Kingzone can't siege. They need to team fight, so Flash being down on Betty could be really big if BDD can get on top of him.
Clouddrake on the map. I'm curious if Flash will think they are strong enough to fight this. Betty is summonerless though and could be a quick target. We saw how fast he died to Khan to that prior fight.
Who's going to get out to push a side lane first here, though? So many teleports were used in the last fight that broke out that both teams are now hesitant to send someone out first and get the minion waves pushing. Flash Wolves are the ones out to it. Hanabi down bottom side, and that is the lowest turret for them. But we'll take another look at this face check from Moojin.
Watching this play here, he finds out the tail end, and that is when Kingzone goes for the commitment. Moojin has Flash the entire time, doesn't want to use it. That is the sort of disengage Rakan play that we need to see SwordArt recreate again and again. True Shot Barrage goes wide, and this looked like it could actually be turned on Kingzone.
Yeah, Betty went full offensive there, jumps in on Kai'Sa, uses his ult.
Oh, the turret shot following him.
Yeah,
look at this.
I mean, it was definitely a spread out one, and that was the actual last hit that finished off Hanabi.
Now that's an unlucky feels bad man right there.
Well, that's what you get for teleporting under turret fire.
Slight mistake there. Yeah, Kingzone, that ended up being an overall kind of a 4v5 fight. The Kingzone in that battle went 3-2 in. So turret plus the champions helping out pretty nicely. Again, back to this 4,500 difference. Clouddrake up, and Kingzone might just get their second Drake in a row here. This one will affect combat power, and yes, no still going to be had, so Flash Wolves really not able to fight for these objectives easily.
And when Kings are in formation and being able to tank up an objective, Flash Wolves can't run at them. That's not what the comp is drafted for. They need to create temporary space with the Weave as well. They need to get value out of the Skarner ultimate and divide up Kingzone. If you're walking into Jackson Irelia, they say thank you very much, and they turn on you.
I love setups like this because it really puts your communication to the test. Target focus is so important here, and who's going to be using the crowd control to peel.
BDD might get rid of this Blast Cone alongside Peanut, looking for maybe some cheeky Fog of War plays to be made. Is not a lot that Flash Wolves can see into this river. That one Trinket Ward, and the recall spotted and stopped there by True Shot Barrage. BDD shoves in the wave, and mid's under control, top's under control, and the river's under control. Again, this single Trinket is all that Flash Wolves have to know what's going on around here. And it's going to be a pickoff. SwordArt's going to have to keep running. Pops the ult for move speed, and finally gets a teammate to run to, but that is the Fog of War play Kingzone wanted.
He desperately did not want to use his flash that knows he will need to reposition for CC during a team fight, but that means SwordArt is out of this. He can switch his exhaust to teleport and get back.
Wow, that's two vision tools used at the same time. Weaver's plus the blue trinket. Even less time Flash Wolves can use. The con is in. Looking for the play. Hanabi's going to pop the ult. You guys keep running, though. Health bar's running low. The dive is in. They've got the pickoff, and they cannot re-engage through the ultimate. They've got to give them the space that Kingzone need.
Predator's been popped as well, and Flash Wolves trying to push out mid lane while Kingzone revert to their 1-4 here with Khan's teleport still on cooldown.
The Irelia ult being down means that turn from Baron isn't quite as lethal. Speaking of turns from Baron.
And Khan is right behind. There's going to be a big stun. He gets three of them with it. Is this going to be the team fight? Peanut's coming around for the slow as well. Moojin running out of health. Flashes away. Just stays alive. Betty just cutting out as well. Pops the ult and the invisibility. An unstoppable Olaf is coming for you, but he's not going to get the kill. Prey, however, will. 2 for 0 in this fight so far, and they're running. Flash Wolves licking their wounds as Kingzone get 3 straight kills.
So incredibly close, but those 3 kills are going to be what tips this over the edge for the Baron.
It's by the narrowest of margins. The gold lead is certainly being reflected in how close team fights are playing. Flash Wolves playing them well. Kingzone just ahead. Kingzone health bars are low. Peanut's got a life steal. This one, a good fight, could get a double kill, but looks like Smite is all but a guarantee. No one's in range to steal. Prey goes over. Ooh, Maple puts some damage in, but Baron secured by Kingzone, and their lead almost insurmountable.
What a play here from Kingzone. Knowing they don't have a lot of defense to tank the Baron, they're committed to this turnaround. Here's the second one, actually, where Flash Wolves move back in. But Khan, he just left, and he's instantly back. The lack of defense is clear in how low these health bars fall for Kingzone. They're trying to buy space for Prey. They don't have Guardian Angels yet. They're trading upon very fickle margins, such narrow margins between the two teams. And that last flawless duet from BDD finds the stun onto Betty, taking down the Kai'Sa, putting a stop to the damage output. That is what saved the lives of the other Kingzone members.
it's a lot of damage for Taliyah and Kai'Sa to be putting out as they're kiting back. It's actually very difficult for Taliyah to actually put out relevant damage in these fights. But in the narrowest of margins, Kingzone get the Baron. That took over 10 minutes of setup to actually pick up.
So with this, looking to turn the corner. The LCK known for winning games on their first Baron very frequently. Kingzone, of course, one of the very best teams in the world, maybe the single best, despite what their group stage might have looked like, kind of re-earning that mantle here so far. A well-controlled game one. Kingzone up 8,000, looking to finally crack a tier 2 turret as the waves are pushed in.
And to re-earn the high expectations that most analysts came in for this tournament. Prey, for example, definitely unsettled by Uzi. Comes to the best AD carry in the world title. Definitely a much better game. He has 60 CS up his opponent.
Huge lead here. Look at the item difference.
That's 1 Q.
Betty only sitting on 3 offensive items here. Has the QSS now, though. And this might be the opportunity that they're looking for, because Kingzone are knocking at the door. They want those inhibitor turrets down.
There's that split push. 0-4-1, mid tier 2, bot tier 2, both of them gone. Still a minute and a half on this Baron buff. Now the gold they're earning is not going back into their inventories here, so maybe a defense can happen as they keep scaling up. Put some axe to the bot line, Peanut creating space. Mid inhibitor turret is gone as bot lane still being pushed towards by Khan. Has respect to possible Taliyah run, but now they're gonna find the summon of Maple. This could be the damage to charm the disengage, but only finds the one target. And a quick disengage for BDD finds even more damage to the back half. It's got some mark targets to go for. Look at Hanabi forced out as well. Mid inhibitor is gone, and down to the wave that Khan prepped up there, just taking over the entire base Kingzone.
And when you have double, triple Trinity Force, just chunking someone out means a turret dies, means an inhibitor dies. They have insane damage to structures. That means they do pick up the all-important bot lane inhibitor. Of course, gives them a great spot for that Baron, and 2 inhibitors down for Flashwolves.
It's really fun to watch either BDD or Khan go for these burst trades and then have Gorilla right behind them for the Devour to reset afterwards. Currently, Flashwolves 2 inhibitors down. They have their backs against the walls. There's not a lot of time. Kingzone immediately back out onto the map and push.
And both these melee solo laners can now diversify their builds, crimp on some damage. We see a Frozen Heart, we see a Guardian Angel. They're now building more survivability because they know that Prey is locked and loaded behind them to be the one to actually carry them over. He had a BF sword in the inventory, sold it, what a straight up rapid fire cannon.
Yeah, he's capped out now. He's gonna go for the end. Not give them any more time to scale up, not give Betty any more time to fill in those inventory slots with more powerful items.
This could be the death knell of game one for Flashwolves. Of course, it is a best of 5. You gotta win 3 games to do it. Kingzone looking poised to make it 1/3 of the way here. Prey continuing the siege to the top side. The team joining in as well. The Jack shoves in mid, but can rejoin quickly enough here. Banner of command, but no more Baron buff as Kingzone gets some free time on this turret. No one really stopping back Prey. Here comes Weaver's Wall plus the TP flank forced to be canceled. A good collapse and condensation there for Kingzone, making sure they are not surrounded or flanked in any bad way.
And the Elder Dragon is on the table here. So Kingzone, having escaped that little trap from Flashwolves, now can immediately just walk over to the Elder Dragon and gain momentum and pressure on the map simply by the super minions marching in.
And for this fighter comp that's always baiting you to come and fight, come on our terms, we'll win a 5v5, you have to go for the Elder. It's another way to force Flashwolves out of the defensive advantage of their base and to try and turn on them and close the game.
All right, this might be the climactic fight if Flashwolves try to stop this one despite being down 13,000 gold. All but over if the Dragon does go to the side of Kingzone, down to 8,000 health, looking for the surrounds on various sides. But Hanabi a bit far without teleport. Could not join this fight too quickly. Righteous Glory pop, but can't get the way in just yet. That's going to time out now. 3,000 on the Elder Dragon, and look at the disengaged. Flashwolves very far away, not in flash range, picked up cleanly. Nice try on the ultimate. BDD flashed in for that, but couldn't get his target. But it's going to be Tahm Kench bringing in maybe just himself, actually, on top of the squad. Going to re-engage as here comes SwordArt, the rest of the team going for the ulti on the front, but the shield is popped, not a problem there. A quick reset for BDD.
Watch the base though, look at the super minions coming in, they're just happy to keep them here. And
Kingzone can push in with this, of course. The buff is there, the power is on, no knockback going to be had. A quick wave clear trick for Flashwolves. It will be one more reset for Kingzone before they push to win the game.
Yeah, Flashwolves are able to escape with their lives to allow them one more setup for a team fight inside their own base. Gonna have to clean up all of these minions, but Kingzone are gonna come out here with empowered dragons, 2 extra sets of true damage as well.
And maybe even just wait for the Baron that spawns in 1 minute. It's pretty clear. The Flash Wolves need to hit everything correct to even get a hopeful contest onto an objective like the Baron. Basically item capped are most of the members. Kingzone seems like a guardian angel to finish out the build.
There's the TP for Kratos to join the wave sooner, cut this one off. Make sure the top lane can push. BDD walking up there as well. It looks like it will continue to be a lot of pressure on the top side of the map. Khan has teleport. He's on the bottom lane. There is no TP to match him. They can separate Hanabi from the squad.
Prey has gone from a BF sword to a rapid fire cannon to a Hextech gunblade. So he clearly has plenty of gold to rejigger his item build here. We saw this once before this tournament. Amount of life leech and the double actives makes him so strong.
Here comes Wall, only separates Ezreal, who's easily able to arcane shift away. Not going to be a target there. Had Quicksilver Sash. No, actually. Skipped that one in the build, interestingly enough. A little surprised there, but says Tahm Kench will be enough of a safety for me.
Prey and Gorilla played together long enough. He trusts his partner to save his life. And it looks like it has worked out so far this game. All right, here we go. Is this going to be the moment for Flash Wolves? They don't have a lot of openings.
They're running out of options. Betty kites away from what would be the stun, but this is still a turret down. Look at the truck! Prey just does so much damage. Oh, does not quite land the Vanguard's edge, so no ult's coming across as well. BDD with the second miss, but it still means the inhibitor is down as mid and bot still respawning. Hanabi clearing away the waves, and now it's going to be a Baron rush. Gorilla brings Prey over. You could duo this if you wanted to.
And they're going to do just that. Peanut comes over. He's going to be able to secure with this fight in case there was any sort of long-range attempts, but nobody from Flash Wolves is going to move, and this is going to be Kingzone, now Baron empowered, looking to put their stamp on the opening game here.
It's fun how Kingzone have gone away from a lot of their turns. It's not Taliyah, it's not Galio, it's not a roaming mid laner, but it's the power of BDD to be someone that's kind of an immovable object that everyone on the side of Flash Wolves wants to evolve. Playing around his strength has been largely how they've made smart move out of smart move. They've been patient. There haven't been the mistakes in execution that we saw on group stage. So when it comes to all these adages about how a Korean team approaches a best of 5, cleaning up their play was definitely needed, and we're seeing it in game 1.
Speaking of cleaning up their play, Kingzone have yet to give up a single turret the entire game through. Honestly, pretty impressive here. They gave up one Mountain Drake as an opted-in choice to trade that for top lane and a bit of a gold lead. Flash Wolves have never hit a neutral objective to use the Mountain Drake for. It's a useless pickup.
I mean, when you think of Taliyah, you think Weaver's Wall behind an objective freebie. That never happened this game. They've all been hopeful ones trying to split up the enemy team.
Yeah, Kingzone talked about wanting to play offensive for the rest of this tournament, and they have done just that in the opening game. See if they can finish it out that way as well. Looking for a dive.
Even a Righteous Glory on Gorilla to help them get in as they look for round 2 of the inhibitors. Top is dead. Mid and bot have respawned. And middle will drop to a Banner Baron minion. When, at what point can Flash Wolves get themselves a fight? The gold lead getting farther and farther away. Kingzone crossing their T's, dotting their I's. Weaver's Wall comes down, is going to separate Peanut and BDD. They can't both hit over with Tahm Kench. And here comes the hard engage. A double knockup is there. Damage output pretty massive. Suppression is on, but they do not have the damage. BDD will only revive with Guardian Angel. Betty still goes down. Ignite was on a double kill in the backline. Looking for more in the fight as BDD re-engages. Gets number 3, gets number 4. They're all dead. Kingzone get the clean ace. They're going to claim game 1.
That's what offense looks like, and Kingzone take the Nexus.
So aggressive, so decisive. The new pick of the Irelia. Saw it yesterday. See it almost perfected by BDD in this first game here. And if that is the tone and that is the speed that this series is going to be played upon, Flash Wolves need to look back at the draft, get themselves sources of winning lanes, because in this game, they just couldn't get started.
Welcome to the international stage. It has been 1,105 days since a Korean team has lost a best of 5 to a non-Korean team. And Kingzone starting this one out strong.
But I think it's so important that we had to see it with our own eyes. They needed to once again gain those high expectations, because all our prep, everything we looked at, I cast all those damn games. We weren't seeing that Kingzone in the group stage. They finally show up for the knockout.
Flash Wolves definitely taught them a lesson in group stage.
Yeah.
And Kingzone taking that lesson to heart.
And I gotta give shout-outs to both Khan and Peanut here. Khan says, okay, I'll go back to my comfort style. I'll bring the Jax back here. You're gonna blind Camille. I will match you in a matchup. Did quite well in it. Actually had silent pressure pretty much the entire game. As we noticed, never lost a turret. And Peanut loses his red buff level 1. Still manages to have a very strong early through mid-game. Has the camp lead eventually. Very well played by Kingzone. But now to hear more about that Kingzone Game 1 win, let's send it down to the State Farm analyst desk.
Thank you very much. Free game one of this best of 5, and it's the first game that Kingzone will take off of Flash Wolves in this MSI tournament. I'm turning to you two gentlemen, the ones that predicted Kingzone to win this series. Jack, you talked about the ways in which Flash Wolves gained their advantage. Did Kingzone, or rather, how did Kingzone dismantle them in this game 1?
I liked what the caster just said about learning from the group stage, because when Deficio and I were coming up with the 3 win conditions that Flash Wolves uses, is to get Moojin invading early. Kingzone was ready for that. They just started Raptors and altered their path. And then there's also mid priority and bot priority, and they dealt with both of those very well.
Yeah, and it all started in the draft phase, because first point, Moojin invade. He gets a Skarner against an Olaf. Very hard for him then to start playing invade after level 6 when Olaf gets his ulti. But look at the mid lane. Priority there for Maple. He's playing Taliyah against Irelia. After Irelia gets ulti and Sheen, Taliyah can't step forward. We saw it.
The river.
You know, you will get destroyed. And the last one, pushing bot lane. No, because they have Kai'Sa Rakan against Tahm, Kench, Ezreal. So all 3 things here in the draft, Kingzone actually managed to remove once we hit level 6. So there was a tiny, tiny window for Mabel and Moojin to do something. But that is just too small of a window.
So then, Frostgren, how do you reconcile the draft for the side of Flash Wolves here if we're staring down the barrel of 3 counters to the 3 ways that we can win a game?
Flash Wolves got blasted in the draft. It's as simple as that. By the early pick of the Rakan and allowing a free Tahm Kench to go through and everything that Tahm Kench provided. For me, it came down to really the execution, then seeing all of the pieces in movement for Kingzone. Like Jat was saying, with Irelia and Tahm Kench, you forfeit the river. You're never going to be able to walk into it, which is exactly what we saw. That's on top of a double Infernal spawn, so got super unlucky with the Drake RNG there.
And this is the first replay where we actually get to see how Flash Wolves, they had Moojin trying to look for something in the river, but he had no flash, he died. And by the way, we chatted about Irelia ult plus Sheen. Insane combo by BDD, lands the range stun, gets the kill, and now you don't have any mid lane priority. You can't invade the jungle. And you've never been able to push the bot lane. Flash was early game, it's done so.
Yeah, and
mastery over that Irelia BDD was.
Then, like you're saying, you've got 3 Trinity Forces that are then complete. You're rocking into mid-game with a composition that spikes. Then Flash Wolves are already playing from the back foot. And at this point, you're like, I guess we get a pick, or we need to dance around the Baron, maybe get something for Kai'Sa going. But then I have to go to the actual Baron setup and the Baron dance that we had. It was 5 minutes, and Betty had the goal to buy an Infinity Edge, didn't go back to get it, and so Flash Wolves sacrificed everything and then picked a bad fight on top of it.
In that replay, we saw the very first Taliyah wall used. Of course, that's not typically how you'd want to be using it. You want to extend that advantage towards the bot lane if you are Flash Wolves. It's not until about 29 minutes, rather, that we see the first opportunity for Flash Wolves to kind of disrupt the game, maybe pick up some kills. And within this skirmish, though, the power of the Trinity Forces really come to play here for Kingzone. This replay brought to you by Acer Predator.
Yeah, and Flash Wolves did need to do more of this type of stuff earlier in the game to get rid of the split of pressure. And keep in mind, this is a 4 versus 5 where Kingzone ends up taking us, and maybe if Flash Wolves has a few things go their way, they get a bit of an edge off this.
I do want to give credit to Betty, though, for how he plays this fight. I think he's doing everything perfect until we start getting a little bit further into it. And what's important is how this is a bad Baron from Kingzone getting punished, but Betty having to use his flash in this exchange here. That is a huge part for the next few minutes where Kingzone can return to the Baron area. And they know now, with this draft from Flash Wolves, you guys can see it on your screen up top left, there is not really any peel that can stop a Jax and Olaf and Irelia from killing poor Betty. So when he doesn't have his flash, he walks into the next fight, he just obviously dies, and that's what Kingzone uses to get the Baron.
Yesterday, we saw Fnatic versus RNG, that Fnatic were unable to break the defensive RNG late game. This series is completely different. Flash Wolves have proven that they're not strong enough to survive into the late game, that they can get that Kai'Sa up there, and that Kingzone are drafting the counters to it. They must play an early game.
Yeah, but you also look at the way Kingzone did close out that game. They had what could be considered fast-paced picks with double melee solo laners, but the way they closed out the game was very much the Kingzone we were actually used to. And I think in this game and one of the group stage games against Team Liquid has been the only time we have seen this version of the team. So if you're expecting Flash Wolves to win against a slumping Kingzone, I don't think that's the Kingzone that just showed up in that first game.
I just want to see Flash Wolves kind of commit to one style in the draft, because I felt like there were some early game aspects of Snowball with the Taliyah pick they grabbed when they already knew Irelia was picked. But then the only lane I felt like they could have snowballed was topside, but they never went up towards Khan except for like once early on. Bot lane, I need something that can make plays. Rakan was available here. You could have banned the Tahm Kench in the second phase and then sent Taliyah bot side over and over like they've done before. I just want to see them commit to the early game. The Kai'Sa one is more late game focused, and against these kind of bruisers, I don't think Kai'Sa can ever really carry unless she plays it absolutely perfect.
I just want to magnify glass over the mid lane, though. I understand what you're saying about the bot lane, but I feel like the biggest issue, and why I'm almost ready to wave the white flag for Flash Wolves, is
so
that
soon.
we haven't seen Maple play a true carry. You know, he's always about that supportive style, the Taliyahs, the Gallios, but now that BDD is pulling out this dual-edged threat of being able to play the pressure game, the side lanes, the Karmas, the Scions, as well as the Irelia to perfection, I don't think now Flash Wolves have the diversity in their strategies to really counteract it.
I think what they do is ban Irelia.
They
say,
have
you know what? BDD on Karma Sion, we can handle that. That's not that big of a deal. The Irelia pick, however, blocks us from playing things like Taliyah. Just get rid of it, because we also know it can go up to Khan top lane.
Now, proof enough that this series is different from yesterday's series. The combined kills per minute across our 3-game series was 0.89, so almost a kill per minute across the entire best of 5. Just in this game 1 here, 0.46, so near half.
And Dash, if you check the earlier stats, that's pretty much what Kingzone averaged during the regular season. This was very much their flow and their style of game.
So then here's my question. With Kingzone electing to stay on red side, remember, Flash Wolves chose blue for game 1. What is the response here for Flash Wolves, not just within the draft, but do they need to accelerate this kind of game? Do they need to make it bloodier?
They just need to change their bans, which can give them more strength in the bottom lane. I feel like they had somewhat of a wasted ban on Morgana. I don't think that's a strong pick for Kingzone, and they can switch that out for Rakan. They're no longer pressured to pick it. First pick the Ezreal and be okay.
And also, you can drop the Ryze ban. Sorry to interrupt.
There you go.
The other one.
Like, you can put Irelia in there instead of Ryze. All right. It's not been a successful pick during the tournament.
I just like the Ezreal pick. I 100% agree with it. And I think that they need to throw everything out, prioritize Betty, make sure that they have the pushing lane, and deny any sort of carry potential from BDD.
Well, Kingzone, they start the match with a win. Meet us back here after the break to see if Flash Wolves can even the series in game 2. Don't go anywhere.
Flash way by Gorilla, but could there be a repeat as Moojin now knows he's got no escape. The slow is in, flash the stun. They've got the chain CC, the kill. It's going to go over, but stolen by SwordArt. Ignite takes the goal.
In the mid to late game, these items come together. He's going to keep it all in.
Has a reset. He protects it. BAD with the solo kill. Into the back line goes BAD, catches one, but it is going to be a trade as they keep going. A double kill from the mid lane. Not going to be enough damage as Hanabi as the sun comes out. BAD is still on the run, but Maple is on the chase. This is going to be dangerous. Prey has 5 health, and that's a quick kill for Betty. Kites away from Khan, another in for Maple, and now Jax can only run. Oh, he can turn it back, though. Ignite was on a double kill in the back line. Looking for more in the fight. BAD re-engages, gets number 3, gets number 4. They're all dead. Kingzone get the clean ace. They're going to claim game 1.
Predator, proud partner and official monitor provider